I want you to do something uncomfortable right now. I want you to ignore your salary, ignore your job title, ignore the neighborhood you live in, and ask yourself one honest question. If your income stopped tomorrow, not reduced, stopped completely, how many days before your life falls apart? For most people watching this, the answer is somewhere between 30 and 90 days, maybe less. And here is what makes that statistic so jarring. The people I am describing are not poor. They are not struggling. They are educated, employed, and by every visible measure, successful. They have the house. They have the car. They have the annual vacation and the retirement account they check once a year. But underneath all of it, the entire structure depends on one thing, continuing to function, the paycheck. Remove the paycheck and the house, the car, the subscriptions, the private school tuition, all of it begins to collapse. That is not wealth. That is an expensive dependency. And it has a name. I call it the middle class trap. Not because being middle class is a failure, but because the middle class has been sold a specific set of beliefs about money that feel like wisdom and function like chains. Beliefs about what success looks like, about what you deserve, about what your neighbors are doing and what that means for you. These beliefs produce behaviors, and those behaviors, executed consistently across decades, produce the same outcome for almost everyone who follows them: high income, low wealth, a working life that never ends because it was never designed to. Today, we are going to name those behaviors, not to shame you, but because you cannot change what you have not clearly seen. 7 habits. Each one feels normal. Each one is quietly destroying your financial future. Let's get into it. Habit 1, the monthly payment illusion. You are not buying things. You are renting your future. Walk into any car dealership in America. The salesperson will not ask you, how much do you want to spend? They will ask you, what monthly payment are you comfortable with? That question is not customer service. It is a trap. Because the monthly payment is the most effective way ever invented to disconnect a buyer from the actual cost of what they are purchasing. When you think in monthly payments, a $55,000 car becomes just $690 a month. A $4,000 sofa becomes only $99 a month. A vacation you cannot afford becomes a credit card balance you will pay minimum payments on for the next 3 years. The math behind monthly payments is designed to obscure how much you are actually spending. Extend the loan term, lower the rate slightly, add some fees into the principal, and the salesperson has made a $55,000 purchase feel identical to a $35,000 one. You signed a 7-year contract. You are paying interest on interest, and you drove home feeling like you got a good deal. Here is how wealthy people think about purchases. They look at the total number, the full price, and they ask one question: is this thing worth that amount of my capital? Not, can I make the payments? But, is this worth the money? Those are fundamentally different questions. One asks if you can survive the purchase. The other asks if the purchase makes sense. The middle class asks the first question. The wealthy ask the second. And when you spend your life asking the first question, you end up with a life full of things you are paying for and a savings account that never grows. Because every monthly payment is a piece of your future income already spoken for, already sold, already gone before you earn it. When $400 of your $5,000 monthly income is committed to fixed payments, mortgage, car, credit cards, subscriptions, you are not free. You are a person running a very expensive machine that you cannot afford to turn off. The rule the wealthy live by is simple. If the only way to buy it is to finance it, you cannot afford it. The only exception is a primary residence. Everything else, pay cash or wait. Stop asking what the payment is. Start asking what the total cost is. That single shift in thinking will save you more money than any investment strategy I can offer you. Habit 2, paying everyone else first. The order of operations that keeps you broke here is a question most people have never honestly answered. When your paycheck arrives, who is first in line? For most people, it goes landlord or mortgage company, car payment, utilities, groceries, streaming services, and then, if anything remains, themselves. That ordering is the problem. You have structured your financial life so that every obligation to every company, every institution, every subscription service gets paid before your future does. You are last. Your retirement is last. Your financial independence is last. And human nature being what it is, by the time the last invoice is paid, there is nothing left to put away. There never is. There never will be. Not with this ordering. There is a principle in economics called Parkinson's law. Spending expands to fill available income. If $3,000 is sitting in your checking account, your brain will find $3,000 worth of things to spend it on. Not because you are reckless, because that is how human beings work. The solution is not willpower, the solution is structure. Move the savings before the spending begins. The day the paycheck lands, before you pay a single bill, a fixed percentage leaves your account automatically and goes somewhere you cannot casually access. Now you are not saving what is left. You are living on what remains after saving. That distinction sounds small. Over a lifetime, it is the entire difference. The percentage does not matter as much as the habit. 10%, 15%. Whatever the number, the principle is identical. Your future gets paid first. Everything else gets what remains. The landlord will still get paid. The lights will still stay on. You will adjust. What you will not get back is the decade of compound growth you handed away by waiting until the end of the month to see if anything was left. Habit 3. The status tax paying a premium to impress people who aren't watching. Let me describe a transaction that happens millions of times a day all over the world. A person walks into a store. They pick up two products. One is a generic version, functional, well-made, $40. The other has a logo on it, $340. They buy the $340 one, not because it works better, not because it lasts longer, because of what the logo communicates to people who might see them carrying it. That extra $300 did not buy a better product. It bought a signal. It bought a story about who this person is. I call this the status tax. And the middle class pays it on almost every category of spending. The car brand, the watch, the gym, the neighborhood, the school, the airline seat. All of it carrying a premium, not for the function, but for the message. Now let me tell you something about the wealthiest people I have spent time with across my life. They're almost uniformly indifferent to this, not because they cannot afford the logo, because they do not need it. When your net worth is documented, when your track record speaks for itself, when you have nothing left to prove, the logo becomes irrelevant. The desperate need to signal wealth is almost always a characteristic of people who do not yet have it. True wealth does not announce itself. It compounds quietly in accounts most people never see. Every dollar you spend on a status symbol is a dollar that is not in the compounding engine. It is a dollar converted from an asset into an advertisement for your ego. Rich people become rich by living like the money matters more than the appearance. People who stay poor spend their lives making the appearance matter more than the money. You cannot build wealth and perform wealth simultaneously. You have to choose. The question to ask before every status purchase, who exactly am I trying to impress, and do they actually care? The honest answer almost always is no. People are far too absorbed in their own financial performance to spend meaningful time evaluating yours. Stop paying the status tax. The people you are paying it for are not watching. Habit 4, living on borrowed money, reverse compounding in the debt you don't see growing. Most people understand compounding as a positive force. Money growing on money. returns generating returns, the snowball rolling down the hill. What they do not think about enough is that compounding works with perfect mathematical indifference in both directions. The same mechanism that builds wealth when you are on the right side of it destroys wealth when you are on the wrong side. Consumer debt at 20% interest is compounding against you. Every month you carry a balance, the interest accrues. Next month you pay interest on that interest. The balance grows. You did not spend more. The debt grew on its own. This is reverse compounding, and millions of middle-class households are running it simultaneously with their attempts to save and invest. Think about what that means in practice. You put $300 a month into an index fund earning 7% per year, and you carry $8,000 in credit card debt at 22% interest. You are building on one side and burning on the other. The fire is bigger than the build. You are moving backwards while feeling like you are moving forward. The correct sequence is not both at once. The correct sequence is kill the debt first. Paying off 22% debt is a guaranteed 22% return. No legal investment offers that. No index fund promises that. No financial advisor can deliver that consistently, but paying off your credit card does. Every time. Guaranteed. The wealthy understand debt as a tool that can be used strategically to acquire assets that outperform the debt cost. They do not use debt to consume. They do not borrow to go on vacation. They do not finance furniture. They use their own money for consumption and borrowed money. Rarely, carefully, only when the asset on the other side earns more than the interest rate on the loan. If you are carrying consumer debt right now, nothing else in your financial life matters as much as eliminating it. Not the stock picks, not the side hustle, not the investment account, the dantly along the shadows stretching accordingly. Habit 5. The single income dependency, the most dangerous concentration risk nobody warns you about. In investing, there is a concept called concentration risk. It means having too much exposure to a single asset. If that asset fails, your entire portfolio fails with it. Every serious financial advisor will tell you to diversify, spread the risk, never put everything in one place. And then those same advisors will go home to a life where 100% of their income comes from a single source, their employer. That is maximum concentration risk, applied to the most important asset you have. You are one restructuring away from zero, one difficult performance review away from zero, one industry disruption away from zero, one health event away from zero. The salary feels stable. It arrives on schedule. It has benefits attached to it. But it is a single point of failure in the most critical system of your financial life. The middle class treats the salary as the destination. The wealthy treat the salary as the starting capital. They use it to build systems that generate income independently. Dividend income, rental income, business income, royalties, interest, distributants, each one a stream. Each stream smaller than the salary at first, but each one running without requiring their hours. You do not need to quit your job to fix this. In fact, quitting before the second stream is built is one of the most common financial mistakes I see. Build the second stream while the salary is intact. Let it grow. Let it prove itself. Let it reach a point where losing the salary becomes a setback instead of a catastrophe. The goal is not to replace the income overnight. The goal is to stop being one phone call away from ruin. Start somewhere. A single dividend stock, a small rental, a skill monetized outside your employer. The amount does not matter yet. The architecture does. You are building a second floor on the house, one beam at a time. But the house needs a second floor before the first floor catches fire. Habit 6. Measuring yourself against the wrong people. The financial cancer of comparison. Charlie Munger said something I have thought about for decades. He said envy is the only deadly sin with no upside whatsoever. At least the other sins feel good momentarily. Envy just hurts. And yet the middle class has built an entire financial identity around envy and its cousin, comparison. The neighbor gets a new car. The colleague mentions their bonus. The brother-in-law moves to a bigger house. And suddenly your own life, which was perfectly adequate 3 minutes ago, feels insufficient. So you respond. You upgrade. You match. You exceed. And every time you do, the comparison resets at a higher level. This is a game with no finish line. No matter how much you accumulate, someone in your social orbit will always have more. Always. The goalpost moves every time you approach it. The wealthy, the genuinely wealthy, play a different game entirely. They play what I call the inner scorecard. They measure themselves against their own previous position, against their own goals, against the version of themselves from 5 years ago. They are indifferent, genuinely indifferent, to what their neighbors drive or where their colleagues vacation, not because they are antisocial, because they understand that external comparison is a mechanism for transferring your spending decisions to other people's choices. When you buy something to match someone else, you are not making a financial decision. You are making a social one. And social decisions made with financial consequences are almost always expensive mistakes. Here is the uncomfortable truth about the people you are comparing yourself to. Most of them are in worse financial shape than you think. The new car is financed. The bigger house has a bigger mortgage. The vacation went on a credit card. The appearance of wealth and the reality of wealth are not the same thing. In most middle-class social circles, they are almost opposites. Stop measuring your balance sheet against their lifestyle. It is not a fair comparison, and it is costing you your financial future. Habit 7. Confusing speculation with investing the casino in your brokerage account. Here is a distinction that will save you from losing years of accumulated savings in a single quarter. Investing and speculation are not the same activity. They are not even in the same category. Investing is buying a productive asset, something that generates cash flow, and holding it long enough for that cash flow to compound. You buy a business that earns money. You collect dividends. You reinvest them. You hold for decades. You do not care what the price does next week, because you are not here for the price. You are here for the earnings. Speculation is buying something because you believe someone else will pay more for it tomorrow. You are not focused on what it produces. You are focused on the price movement. You are betting on direction, and direction in the short term is noise. The middle class speculates constantly. They call it investing. They buy a stock because it went up last month. They buy a cryptocurrency because someone at work made money on it. They buy options on a company they cannot explain. They pour savings into a can't-miss opportunity. A friend described at dinner. None of that is investing. All of it is gambling with financial vocabulary layered on top. And when it goes wrong, and it usually does, they conclude that the market is rigged, that investing does not work, that building wealth is only for the already wealthy. Those conclusions are wrong. The market works. Investing works. Compounding works. What does not work is speculation disguised as investing. The test is simple. Can you explain in plain language exactly how this asset makes money, not how the price might move, how the underlying business or asset actually generates cash? If the answer is yes, you may be investing. If the answer is no, or involves the word momentum, you are speculating. Wealth is built at the farm, not the casino. You plant, you water, you wait. You collect the harvest. You do not walk in every morning and rip the seeds out of the ground to check if they are growing. Buy productive assets. Understand what you own. Hold long enough for the math to work. That is the entire formula. Everything else is entertainment dressed up as strategy. Let me bring this back to where we started. The middle class trap is not about income. It is not about intelligence. It is not about opportunity. It is about 7 specific behaviors, each one normalized by the culture around you, each one quietly making the wrong people rich. The payments trap, spending tomorrow's income today, paying yourself last and calling whatever remains savings. The status tax on products that perform your wealth instead of building it. Reverse compounding through consumer debt. The single income dependency that calls itself stability. The comparison game with no finish line and no winner. And speculation wearing the costume of investing. You probably recognized yourself in at least two or three of these. Most people do. That recognition is not a reason for shame. It is information, and information, acted on, is the beginning of change. Here is what I know after spending a lifetime studying how money actually works. The gap between where most people are and where they could be financially is not a gap of earnings. It is a gap of behavior. The behaviors are learnable. The habits are breakable. The trap has an exit. But you have to want the actual thing more than you want the appearance of it. You have to be willing to drive the ordinary car and hold the extraordinary asset, to live in a way that looks unremarkable from the outside while building something that is genuinely remarkable on the inside. 10 years from now, the person who broke these habits and the person who kept them will look almost identical on the surface, but their balance sheets will be unrecognizable from each other. One will have freedom. The other will still need the paycheck. The door is open. It has always been open. The only question is whether today is the day you decide to walk through it. Thanks for watching.